Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Heartland Heritage, where we cover the archaeology here in the Midwest and across the rest of the United States and abroad. It's been a little while since my last video. The video I'm wanting to do right now is a little bit of time in the making. What it is encompassing is, in the state of Massachusetts, in the city of Boston, there has been a time capsule that has been recovered. Now, the time capsule was recovered several weeks ago, but there wasn't a whole lot of attention brought to it as far as press goes. And so before I made just a quick little video, I mean, there was hardly anything there to go off. I was like, oh yes, they found a time capsule. Yeah, that would be about it, is all I could give you, really, because there just wasn't a lot of information yet. And they were going to x-ray this time capsule, and I was waiting to hear that information. Well, I kind of waited and waited, and I was about ready to give up, and the information finally came out. So here we are with the video. And so what it is a time capsule was discovered in the state building in Boston while they were doing some repair work from a broken water line, I guess, there. And so they were doing the repairs, and they found this little box made out of copper. It was about the size of a cigar box in there. And from the historical records, they were aware there was a time capsule somewhere in the State House. They just didn't know where exactly. So when they saw that, they had a pretty good idea what it was. And so they called in the local experts to have a look at it, see what damage has been done, and see if they could safely remove the time capsule without doing any further damage to it. Now, the time capsule itself, the reason it got a lot of attention at first when everyone was so excited, especially in Boston, is the time capsule was left behind by Samuel Adams and Paul Revere. Now, Samuel Adams and these two gentlemen, a little bit of history about them. We'll kind of go, I'll start with Paul Revere. He was born in Boston's North End in December of 1734, and he worked as a goldsmith and a silversmith for over 40 years. Now, the reason Paul Revere is so popular and famous here in the United States is on April 18th, 1775, marks the date of his famous Paul Revere ride. You know, where he rode from Lexington to Charleston to warn, matter of fact, Samuel Adams and John Hancock, that British troops were marching to arrest them. All of these men had something to do with the United States fighting for their independence from the British. And so the Paul Revere ride was, two by land, one by sea. Is that correct? I think that's the correct way. I might be wrong. I might have it flipped around. But he was, the British are coming, the British are coming, and he would do this ride. And everybody, they've had songs about him. There's been cartoons about him. So people are aware of who Paul Revere is here in the States. But that's a little bit about him. He also served as a lieutenant colonel in the Massachusetts Straight Train of Artillery. And he was also a commander of the Castle Island in Boston Harbor. But it's not his military career that made him popular. It was his actual ride, which is kind of fascinating. Now, Samuel Adams was born in Boston on September 27, 1722. When I say Samuel Adams, no, he did not make Sam Adams beer. Though right now, that sounds actually quite tasty. I might have to do that afterwards, get some beer. But yes, anyway, not to the Sam Adams beer. He was one of the key figures in organizing the Boston Tea Party, which is another popular event we know here in the United States that involves the fight for independence. He was also one of the members to sign the Declaration of Independence, along with his second cousin, John Adams, who became the second president in the United States. His final role was as the Massachusetts governor between 1794 and 1797. So those are the two gentlemen. Both gentlemen had big connections and influence in our fight for independence here in the United States against the British. So now to the time capsule itself. Now, they know it was buried by Paul Revere and, at the time, Governor Samuel Adams in 1795. From the historical documentation, they know that Sam Adams and Paul Revere left it there to remind future generations of the accomplishments that their generation had done in the newly formed country. So it was discovered by accident, like I said, while doing repairs on the corner of the Massachusetts State Building. And once it was retrieved, I think they said it took between, I want to say, about 8 hours of just chiseling away trying to get this out. But once they did finally get it out, it was taken to the Museum of Fine Arts to be x-rayed to determine the condition of the contents. Unfortunately, the reason, let me go back a little bit, the reason they wanted to x-ray it, and they were actually quite concerned, is, like I said, there was historical documentation on this box. And they know that in 1855, when the state house was being worked on, they pulled it out at that time, the box, to look at it and see how it was preserved, how it was, how intact it was staying, the stuff that was in the box. And unfortunately, at the time, the contents were cleaned with an acid of some kind. And so the people today were extremely concerned, the condition of the contents inside. So they wanted to go take it for an X-ray to see what was in there. Now that was really the last thing I had as far as the information on that video, which wasn't a whole lot. I really wanted to wait until the X-rays done to find out what they found and kind of what the next step was, and that's what I just found out recently. So when the Museum of Fine Arts did do the X-ray on the capsule, they showed a collection of silver and copper coins dating back to 1652. They found an engraved silver plate, which was, at least in my opinion, probably left by Paul Revere, since he was a silversmith, which makes sense. A copper medal with a depiction of George Washington. Newspapers, the seal of the Commonwealth. Let's see here, what else we got here? Cards and a little title page, forgive me, from the Massachusetts colony records. So, wealth of information, information that could give us a really better understanding of the people of that time, especially during this exciting time for the United States as a brand new country. The time capsule, they decided it's going to be opened on January 6th, and they are also working on a new container that's going to be made to seal the contents back in after it's opened up and looked at. That will give it better protection for future. And they were going to add some of the modern day artifacts in there as well, so future generations can open the time capsule again and see what we were doing at this time. I guess they have decided once the new container is done, all the artifacts along with some of this time period will be placed back in the capsule, and the capsule is going to be placed back where it was originally discovered. Now, I have added a link down below with a news story from one of the Boston newspapers, kind of explaining how we've gotten from the beginning to where we are right now, waiting for that January 6th opening. So feel free to look that over. Keep an eye on the Facebook and Twitter pages, and as soon as I learn more, I will make sure to post that out there for everyone to see. And in the meantime, if you have any other questions about this, or you're having problems finding it or wanting to know more information, feel free to email me at archaeosoup.us@gmail.com. And I guess if you don't hear from me back with anything new in this subject, I will be seeing you next year. So everybody be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Hey, what's going on, ladies and gents? This is just a quick update on that time capsule they found in Boston. When I did the initial video, it was before the new year, and as of yesterday, January 6th, they went ahead and opened the time capsule. So I just want to give you a quick rundown of what they found in there. There's still a lot of details to come forward, but in the meantime, they did find coins from different time periods, ranging from the 1600s all the way till 1850s, mid-19th century. They also found the silver plate they were suspecting was in there, that had commemorating the time capsule being done in the first place with Samuel Adams and Paul Revere with others. There was actually still even fingerprints on the silver plate, as well as newspapers folded neatly and packed inside there. The newspapers range from the period of Sam Adams and Paul Revere, but there was also ones placed in there from the 1850s as well. Surprisingly, with the acid wash that was done on them, they look like they're in pretty good condition. Now the question is whether they're going to be immediately put back into a box and put back into the place where the time capsule was originally found with items from today, or if they're going to wait a little bit, make a new box that's a little bit more sturdy, a little bit more environmentally proof, I guess, and during that time have those items on display. As far as like the newspapers go, they didn't have a chance yet to unfold them to see what was being talked about, why they thought those newspaper articles were important to put in the time capsule, or if they were just general newspaper clippings. We don't know, but they are still working on that, so that's still a work in progress. But I wanted to let you know that the coins, the bronze medallion with George Washington on it, all the items that were suspected to be in there were in fact in there, and their condition appears to be in pretty good shape. So I will keep you informed. Keep an eye on Facebook and Twitter as well. As soon as I find out more, I'll be sharing that with you all. So in the meantime, hope you're all having a great new year, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.